Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. Happy New Year. We are joined by Keith Good once again here. He's our Reiki practitioner, energy healer, and owner of the company Good's Holistic Healing. Welcome back, Keith. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you for having me again, and welcome to all those viewers that we have out there today and listeners.
And where are you in the world today?
Still in Colorado.
Beautiful.
We're waiting on things to move on because of the holidays. Things have slowed down.
Amazing. Well, he's on a journey. He's on a little bit of a move right now, which is pretty amazing. And as a healer, I mean, New Year's got to be, inspiring for someone like you, and think for all of us. But tell us a little bit about what you do, Keith, if you don't mind. If there's new listeners today and viewers, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. I am founder of Goods Holistic Healing, where I do Reiki, crystal Reiki, some chakra work, crystal work. I also do some shadow work starting probably in another month now. It's probably been delayed a month. We're going to go into that in the next video, exactly what shadow work is.
Yeah.
And then we also do meditation and spiritual mentoring. And you can always get a hold of me at goodsholistichealing.com. There's also at info@goodsholistichealing.com and at 406-272-6006.
Perfect. Well, we're
So,
excited that you're back. Tell us what's in store for us. You know, it is a new year as an energy healer. How do things feel to you right now in the world?
oh my. Well, there are changes coming.
Okay.
The day before, on the 30th of December, the day before the New Year's Eve, everybody was out doing New Year's Eve stuff.
Uh-huh.
We had a new moon, and that new moons always mean new beginnings.
Okay.
And I do have a lady that I watch about the moons and the solstices and the eclipses and all that stuff. And she was saying that this new moon was called a black moon. And just as we usually have a blue moon, or at least usually once a year, a blue moon means two. It's the second of two full moons in a month.
Okay.
And a black moon is a second dark moon or new moon in a month.
Ooh.
So we've had two. We had in December we had two new moons. So
Wow.
the second one was on the 30th. But the real significance of the new moon this time was the fact that it is setting everybody up for the changes that are going to happen in 2025 and 2026. Just as the solstice set us up for the next 6 months from one solstice to the next, which the
Okay.
next solstice obviously is in June,
Uh-huh.
because the solstices are the
It
equinoxes are when the sun
coincides
is
with.
equally,
Mm-hmm.
and the solstices are opposite that, or they're a quarter of a year off from that. Um, so there's a lot of changes going to happen in the next little while, and it's time. What that tells us is that it's time for us to start thinking for ourselves, start making decisions on how we want to change ourselves. And as we spoke last time about changing ourselves holistically, not just physically, what we can do to ourselves to help raise a collective conscious, how to raise our own vibrations, and be able to make it through these changes, because some of these changes are not going to be pleasant. They will be after in the end, but in the meantime, these changes are going to get very confusing, very how do I want to put it? Very, very in some ways dark. And we need to be aware of this, if nothing else, so that we know how to handle this. And it may not all happen in 1 year, but we're having a lot of worldwide changes. I mean, we have wars worldwide. We have hurricanes, cyclones, forest fires, earthquakes. All these things are part of the changes. Are part of the the changes that will make
The
ourselves become higher vibrational Earth. Not just a higher vibrational person, but the entire Earth will go to a higher vibration if we react collectively in the right manner. If we don't act collectively in the right manner, then we may have some other possibilities and probabilities that can happen. So it's up to us as people who are trying to raise our vibrations and
Okay.
are raising our vibrations. It's up to us to continue that to bring about the best case scenarios.
Got it. Ooh. Well, thank you for sharing all this. I'm a little nervous. I mean, but I know, part of life, right? These tragedies, in a sense, happen, whether it's a hurricane, earthquake, tsunamis. But you're saying that's going to help increase our vibrational energy. Could you just share how that works? Like, I'm fascinated by this because there's, bad stuff in a sense that will come. It always does. But that does help us in the long run, in a sense. Is that what we're getting at?
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to have destruction before you can have construction.
Ah, I never heard that. You gotta have
If
destruction before you have. Wait, say it again.
you have to have destruction before you
Destruction.
can have construction or
Got it.
reconstruction.
True.
For instance, um, if they want to build a new street, they tear up the old street before they rebuild the new street. So they have destruction before reconstruction. You tear up the old blacktop, you set down a new road base, and so on and so forth. So part of the creativity is destroying. Um, just like a mechanic. A mechanic has to tear apart an engine before he can reconstruct it and fix it. So there's always, even in the most simplest ways, there's always destruction before reconstruction. A tree dies, and you think that it dies and that's all it does, but it doesn't. When a tree dies and falls in the forest, it starts decaying and feeding the other trees to create a new forest. So there's always destruction. It's part of the cycle of life. It's part of the cycle of creativity. It's part of the cycle of everything that happens universally, not just earthly. And so the the earth is going in through changes. Now, most people don't believe or necessarily even consider that Gaia or Earth can be or would be a sentient being.
Okay.
However, she probably is. She probably is. I mean, I
Hmm.
believe that we should consider the
Okay.
fact that anything that was created is sentient. We only, as humans, look at things that are carbon based as life.
Okay.
And who's to say that source created everything, all life through carbon based life?
Ooh. Ooh.
So as we said, or I believe we said it in the last video or one of the past videos, is that when you change your diet, you're changing it because you're changing your vibration when it's sustained.
Mm-hmm.
So you're usually going to a higher vibrational diet, which means usually, oftentimes, very, very little, if any, red meats, dense meats. You're going more to chickens or poultry and fish, and you're going to a more vegetarian type diet. And people don't think that necessarily is they don't even see it happening, I should say. They don't even see it happening because it's so subtle when they start doing it. They just sit down at dinner until one night and they say, I'm having chicken,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm gonna have beans for dinner for my protein because I don't really need all that heavy meats or whatever. Well, the reason some of this happens, or at least some of the experts say that it happens, is because the Earth Mother is changing vibration.
Got
So
it.
as she changes vibration, we have to change with her, or we're not going to be part of her.
Well, then how do
Okay.
we, this is, yeah, so Earth, but we got to take care of Earth Mother. And I hear we're not doing such a good job of that. And that's why
Well, and
she's fighting back in a sense, and
that's
these
why
changes are
she's fighting
happening.
back. She's sort of, my analogy is she's shaking off her fleas.
Uh-huh.
She's getting rid of her parasites, the ones that don't want to take care of her. And the ones that are raising their vibrations are the ones that will be the ones that will help to clean her up and to honor her and to be part of the entire um, higher vibrational world. There's a lot of information on this, particularly through Dolores Cannon, who has no longer with us in this world, but she has a tremendous amount of information. She was I don't know how many people have seen or heard of her, but she was quite a um, hypnotist. She did a lot of past life regression hypnotism, and she had a lot of information on the new Earth versus um, the what we have today and how that's going to happen. So generally, we are trying as a collective to raise our vibrations and go into what we call the fifth dimension. And then we will no longer be, we'll be able to see maybe the third dimension, but we will no longer be acting in the third dimension. And that's where the changes are coming from. But again, there has to be destruction. You have to have some of the powers that be who are going to fight against that, whether that be corporates or political or whatever. You're going to have some pushback toward that. And a part of that is also the destruction through natural disasters. So we have to be aware that these things are going to happen, and we just have to look around and contemplate what's going on, meditate on what's going on, and be directed in the right way, so that as we raise our collective conscious, um, we can also be part of the new Earth and be part of it, because that's a universal situation. Anything that happens on Earth, which is all we ever concern ourselves with, we have to understand that that affects the entire universe. It's like throwing a stone into a pond, it ripples out. So anything we do ripples out into the universe, and of course into the galaxy first, and then from the galaxy on out.
Wow.
So we have to be aware of all this.
Eeks. All right. Wow. Okay. I want to talk about now the positive that comes out of this, right? Well, let me ask what you want to talk about. I know this show, we're kind of on the cuff. We're just going with the flow today, and it's been flowing. Um, where else? What is I love the Keith Good aspect of good, the good that's going to come out of all this.
Well, the good that's going to come out of all this is that we're going to be one people. We're not going to have the conflicts that we have today. We're not going to have the the natural conflicts. We're not going to have as many of the natural conflicts either, meaning the forest fires and so forth, the earthquakes and so forth. These will all be minimized. I mean, sure, anytime you have, it's like the Earth Mother rolling over in her sleep, and things are going to be shaken. But we're going to be back to a pristine Earth. We will be back to we will be living out of true love, out of divine love, instead of out of created human love that we think is love. Everything will be done on a love-based system instead of being done on a controlling or power or um, systems that only deal with the top down. Will be dealing from the bottom up. We won't have the pollution. We will know how to control the pollution. We will honor the mother. We will not only honor the Earth Mother in the fact of not raping her like I feel we are today with taking everything from her, but we will give back anytime we do. Anytime she gives us something, we will give back to her. if nothing else, and it could be just as simple as a thank you and an honoring of her for producing that. I mean, she does produce everything for our life. We cannot live without her. Without her water, we can't live. Without the foods that she lets us grow, we can't live. You know, we can't live without anything she produces in this dimension because we are part of that dimension. Our body is a third dimensional body. So we have to depend on her, but yet we do not honor her. And this will come when the changes are over. What will come will be the the honoring of her, the thanking of her, the giving back to her. These things will come as we move forward, and our water will be clean. We won't have the pollution that we have today. We have all this technology, but we have the technology to clean the oceans up today, but we aren't using it because they don't really know why we're not using it. I don't know why. We're just not using it. We have the capabilities of healing more than what we heal medically, but again, I don't know why we don't use it. It's not in my area of business to know why we don't use these things. I just know that the things are available that are not being used. Um, we don't need to have all the power lines around it. We don't need to have all these different things because there's other ways of producing these things that is more sustainable and is more good for the environment, and we can be using those things. And that will all happen in the end. However, we do have to raise our vibrations and we have to be part of that in order to do that. So that's the good that I feel is going to come out of it. And we have to understand through all of this that, how do I want to put this? Our spirit never dies. We've discussed that before. Our spirit never dies. So it's those of us who have already gone on to the spirit world and are no longer in the physical can and will be helping us from spirit to get through this. They will be helping to guide us. They will be helping to give us some intuitive thinking on what to do next. They will be helping us to create the destruction. Not that we're going to create the destruction, but to deal with the destruction in a manner that we can reconstruct in the right way. So we're not the only ones in this. That's why I say it's universal. It's going to be the entire universe helping us go through this. So we need not fear what's going to happen. We need to trust source that what's going to happen is the right thing to happen, and we will be part of it.
Well, I appreciate you being here helping so many. And with the work you're doing, how can you help us? I mean, energetically, spiritually, emotionally, your role as an energy healer, someone is going through something, they come to you. And could you share a little bit about some of your services?
Sure, sure. Um, the Reiki that I do helps to start the initial Reikis help to start moving subtle energies. So that helps you right there it helps your body to start understanding that you have energies that are being blocked or suppressed inside your body. And that in and of itself will help you to raise your vibration. When you couple that with some meditations, and of course, crystals can be involved with that with the crystal Reiki, and crystals just help you to bring in other vibrations as well and match the vibrations of those crystals, which are already a higher vibration than we are. And when you couple that with meditation and spiritual entering, trying to find out what your truth is, where you need to go, and what your path is, and what your passion is to help other people and to help this whole process move on, then through mentoring and meditation, that can be done. Mentoring, as I've said in the past, is pretty much for bringing in your own truth, finding out where you belong in all this. And as you move through this, it is an evolution of such, so that you evolve from the beginnings of the Reiki through the increasing of the energy, subtle energies. Then you can now start seeing your own intuition, and you can start having contact with your spirit guides, or your spirit guardian angels, or whomever it is out there that helps you to bring in, because some of them help to bring in, keeping in mind that you are spirit. So your spirit can talk to you as well, um, through intuitions. And with those all together, then we can stop working with our head, as we spoke before, and taking it to our heart and living out of our heart, and becoming one with the whole, one with the entire universe, instead of just trying to separate ourselves from everybody else. And I think that that's where my services come in. My services can help you heal physically, but they are more, what I try to do is to help you work in a holistic manner, specifically spiritually, because most of us are not in touch with spirit. We think we are in touch with spirit outside of ourselves, but we have to make sure that we're in touch with spirit inside of ourselves. And that's where the connection is. The connection to spirit is not through the mind, is not through the physical. The connection with spirit is through our spirit.
Well, in our last few minutes here, we still have 5 more minutes left here. Keith, what else do you want people to know about you, this energy, the new year? And can I just mention something randomly? I'm not sure if it'll resonate with you at all, but as a child, I always heard stories in my family of, I don't know your beliefs on this, but my uncle, this is my dad's brother, who was abducted by an alien. And we heard about it, we laughed about it, we didn't talk about it. And then all of a sudden, this special came out on Netflix, and I saw my uncle in a clip, and he wasn't supposed to be. He signed off years ago, but this guy, Bud Hopkins, died. And so his footage came out, and he really was abducted. And finally on Thanksgiving, we sat down, he told me the whole story. And he says he's like, it happened. I witnessed other people witnessed me. It was the big Manhattan Bridge alien abduction in the 1980s. And so the one thing that no one's talking about is like what we're doing to our Mother Earth. He's like, they wanted to tell us that what we're doing is so bad. We're hurting ourselves, hurting each other with guns, with violence. He's like, they were here in good spirit. They were here to teach good. They're not here to harm us. But the overall message is about what we're doing to our surroundings and how we should, you know, better our lives and take care of the earth and the people and the things around us. That's one thing they're not happy with. I don't know if you believe in anything like this, but I do. And it's just a nice message to hear it. Like you were kind of saying the same thing about, yeah, this whole Mother Earth thing has a connection, and it knows if we're harming it, if we're doing wrong, we're doing good. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up. Do you believe in that at all, Keith?
True, actually, and I think we ought to go into maybe in the next episode. We ought to go into that in much more detail.
Okay.
But I will say this much about it right up front. Um, the aliens, or as we call them, I like to call them star people,
Mm-hmm.
because they're really people. We just
Yeah.
don't, we call them aliens because we don't know what else to call them. But 95% of them are benevolent. There's always those few that are malevolent, just
Mm-hmm.
as there is on Earth. We still have our criminals on Earth, even though
Yeah.
95% of the people on Earth are good. We do have the bad, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the same way in with the star peoples. But the star peoples are so much far advanced. First of all, if they wanted us to be gone, we'd be gone.
Mm-hmm.
They have come into Great Falls, Montana, and other places around the United States that I'm aware of, and have actually um, disabled our nuclear weapons.
Wow. I've been watching the
And
Skinwalker Ranch thing now. My son, who's 9, got
okay,
me into. I just learned about this place in Utah, and I'm like, what? I knew nothing, but now I'm so curious, and things are opening up, and I'm reading and looking and watching.
yeah, they've been around for many, probably millennia. If you follow it far enough back, you will see that there are actually drawings in Egypt and so forth, where they show um, that there have been spaceships actually carved into stone, right around their on their hieroglyphs and
Wow.
pictographs and so forth. There's much more to this because there's so much going on in the universe that we are unaware of, and for us to believe that this entire universe was created just for us is
Mm-hmm.
just seems so unusually ignorant to me. And I
Mm-hmm.
hate to use that word, but I remember saying as a kid, long before I even knew about aliens, I remember saying as a child, you can't tell me that there isn't another planet the exact same distance from another sun that's the exact same size as our sun that there's not somebody living on.
Yeah.
And I said
Yeah.
that as a child because I didn't know any different that we might be able to be. Who knows? Some of these could be breathing gases.
Yeah.
Instead of oxygen, they could be breathing hydrogen, or they could be breathing what we consider poison.
Yeah.
But to them, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
There are things out there that say that there are planets
Yeah.
that actually are all water, and they house all amphibian type peoples. So there's all kinds of things that can go along with this, and I would entertain talking about that on the next
Beautiful.
episode because I think it can be a very um, informative conversation
Right.
with people.
Well, thank you. Thank you when we bring it up, because some people might say, "Oh, that's a non-existent that." Thank you. I knew you were a believer. You have that energy and faith about you and spirit, so I'm glad I was able to bring that up. And yeah, I would love to talk more about that too, because it's fascinating to me, and it sends such a bigger message to all of us. So thank you for that, Keith. Keith, how do we contact you, darling? What's the website? What's the phone number?
Okay, goodsholistichealing.com. info@goodsholistichealing.com is the email, and phone number 406-272-6006. And do want to wish
Beautiful.
everybody a happy new year, and we'll see you on the next one.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Happy, healthy New Year to you, and thank you for, talking about this today. Let's start this new year off right. And yes, bad will happen, but it's for the greater cause in a sense. I want to hear more about this. All right, Keith, thank you so much. Sorry, we got to go. Have a fantastic day. Bye bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.